You wake up, maybe it's 6:30, maybe it's 7. You shuffle to the kitchen, put on the coffee, and reach for the same breakfast you've had for years. It feels responsible, familiar, like something your body can count on. But after 50, that same reliable routine can quietly work against the very things you're trying to protect: your heart, your energy, your sharpness. By the end of this, you'll know exactly what to shift in your morning to start feeling the difference within days. And there's one thing most people do in the first 30 minutes after waking. It's not a food, it's not a supplement, that either sets your body up for the whole day or quietly undermines everything else you do right. We'll get to that at the end. It's the piece that ties everything together. Here's the truth most people over 50 were never told. The morning habits that served you well in your 30s and 40s aren't necessarily working the same way anymore. That's not your fault. Nobody sat you down and explained that the body you're living in now processes things differently. Your metabolism runs slower, your cortisol, the stress hormone your body naturally releases in the morning, spikes higher and takes longer to come down. Your cardiovascular system is more sensitive to what it encounters first thing. The rules genuinely changed, and most people are still playing by the old ones. What we're going to do today is give you the new ones. 5 things to do each morning starting tomorrow that are specifically designed for the body you have right now, not the one you had 20 years ago. The first one sounds almost too simple to matter. Drink water before anything else, before coffee, before food, before checking your phone. Not a sip, a full glass, ideally 12 to 16 ounces, within the first few minutes of waking. Most people know hydration is important in a general way, but here's what they miss. You've just spent 7 or 8 hours without a single drop of fluid. Your blood is literally thicker in the morning than it is at any other point in the day. And after 50, when cardiovascular risk is already elevated, that thickness puts real strain on your heart in those early morning hours, which is, not coincidentally, when most cardiac events occur. Water, first thing, thins the blood, gently. It kickstarts digestion. It gives your kidneys what they need to start clearing overnight waste. Coffee can follow, nobody's asking you to give it up, but water has to come first. It takes about 30 seconds, and it's one of the highest return habits you can build. But here's where it gets more serious. It's not just about hydration. What you reach for second matters just as much. And the next item on this list is something almost everyone eats and almost no one questions after 50. Breakfast. Specifically, the kind of breakfast most people consider the healthy choice. Cereals labeled heart-healthy, granola, fruit juice, toast with jam, these feel right. They've been marketed as right for decades. But after 50, your body handles refined carbohydrates and added sugars very differently than it did before. Insulin sensitivity declines with age, which means a high-carbohydrate breakfast, even one that seems wholesome, can spike your blood sugar in the morning and set off an energy crash by mid-morning that most people just chalk up to getting older. That mid-morning fog, that 10 a.m. tiredness that sends you back to the coffee pot, it's often not age, it's breakfast. What works better after 50 is protein first. Eggs, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, smoked salmon, paired with something that has fiber. Protein blunts the blood sugar spike, it keeps you full longer, and it gives your brain the amino acids it needs to produce the neurotransmitters that regulate mood and focus. The shift doesn't have to be dramatic. Even adding 2 eggs to whatever you're already eating changes the entire metabolic picture of your morning. Now, before we get to number 3, and this is the one that surprised me most, I want to make sure you understand why this matters so much, specifically after 50. The changes we're talking about aren't dramatic. They don't feel like emergencies. That's exactly why they go unaddressed for years. The blood sugar creeps up, the energy slowly flattens, the sharpness fades so gradually you start to think it's just how things are now. It isn't. Most of it is manageable, but only if you know what to actually do. Number 3 is movement, but not the kind you might be thinking of. Not a workout, not a 45-minute walk. 10 minutes of light movement in the first hour after waking, before you've fully settled into your day. This could be stretching, a slow walk around the block, some gentle mobility work.
Here's the mechanism. During sleep, circulation slows, and inflammatory markers, the compounds in your blood that contribute to joint pain, cardiovascular disease, and cognitive decline, are at their highest in the early morning hours. Light movement signals your body to start clearing them. It also helps regulate cortisol, which, as I mentioned, peaks in the morning after 50 and can stay elevated longer than it should if you stay sedentary. People who add just 10 minutes of gentle morning movement consistently report better energy by midday and more restful sleep the following night. The two are connected more than most people realize, and the entry point is so low that there's almost no reason not to try it starting tomorrow. We're about halfway through, and what's coming up next is honestly the part most people never hear about. Most doctors don't bring it up unless you ask. Number 4 is sunlight, specifically natural light exposure in the first 30 to 60 minutes after waking. Your body runs on a circadian clock, and that clock is calibrated by light. After 50, the circadian system becomes less robust. It's easier to drift, sleeping later, lying awake at night, feeling groggy in the morning, and wired at 10 p.m. Most people assume this is just part of aging. It's not inevitable. Early morning light, even on a cloudy day, even through a window, sends a clear signal to your brain to suppress melatonin, boost alertness, and start the internal timer that will bring melatonin back at the right hour that evening. People who get consistent morning light report falling asleep faster, sleeping more deeply, and waking up more naturally. And here's the part that connects to something larger. Your mood regulation, your immune function, and your inflammatory response are all tied to circadian rhythm. Disrupted rhythms don't just mean bad sleep, they compound into other problems, slowly over time. Opening your blinds fully, stepping outside with your coffee, or even sitting near a window with direct light exposure, any of these, done consistently, starts to recalibrate the system. Number 5 is the one most people skip, not because they don't know it exists, but because it feels optional. A genuine morning intention, not a journal entry that takes 20 minutes, not a meditation retreat. 2 minutes, sitting quietly, face down, and thinking about one thing you want to accomplish that day and one thing that's already good. This isn't a wellness luxury. There's real physiology behind it. Chronic low-grade stress after 50 keeps cortisol elevated in a way that directly affects heart health, immune function, and even memory. The hippocampus, the brain structure most associated with memory, is particularly sensitive to long-term cortisol exposure. 2 minutes of intentional stillness before the day starts interrupts the stress cascade before it begins. It's not nothing. Over months, it genuinely adds up. And remember what I mentioned at the start. We're almost there. It ties everything together, and it'll make sense once you've heard this next part. This isn't just about numbers on a chart. This is about how you feel when you wake up on a Tuesday morning in November and decide whether today is going to feel like your life or feel like something you're just getting through. After 65, this isn't a future concern. It's a right-now concern. And the gap between people who feel vital at 70 and people who don't often comes down to exactly this kind of accumulated morning behavior. Not surgery, not medication, not anything dramatic, just the first hour done consistently, done differently. One morning won't change much, but the same 5 choices made every morning for 6 months compound in ways that are hard to reverse in the other direction once you've built them. Now, the thing I mentioned at the very beginning, the one behavior most people do in the first 30 minutes after waking that quietly undermines everything else you do. It's reaching for the phone immediately, before water, before light, before movement or stillness. The moment you open your phone first thing in the morning, your brain shifts into a reactive state, processing information, responding to stimulation, triggering a cortisol spike before your body is ready for it. That spike, in people over 50, tends to be steeper and lasts longer. It primes you for a more anxious, more scattered, more fatigued day, regardless of what you eat or how much you slept. The phone isn't the enemy, the timing is. Pushing that first phone check back by even 20 or 30 minutes, long enough to drink your water, eat something with protein, and step into some light, changes the entire hormonal profile of your morning. It sounds like a small thing. It isn't. You know the 5 habits now. You know the one thing to delay. Starting tomorrow morning, you can make a different choice, and then make it again the morning after that. Small changes made consistently in the right order are what actually move the needle at this stage of life, and now you know exactly where to start.